like I said, like we pretty much all had the same story. Like we all heard the same type of music. We all hung around the same type of people, and just like we all kind of came together as kids, cause like okay, we all look alike. That's not some racist shit, but just like there wasn't that many of us. I remember I went to Fairfield. Like I said, there's only two black kids I saw. And then we went to Tucson. It jumped up to 10. Woo! 10 black kids in my entire grade. I was like, guess it's not like we could not like each other. Like, we had to. Like, we all lived super close, and we'd all hang out after school and everything. Like, we'd all play basketball, play football, and destroy shit. Like, we used to go into houses that weren't even finished being built, and us being kids, not thinking, hey, let's steal all this copper make some money for somebody that we're related to. No, we're like, let's kick these walls down. So there's probably a shit ton of houses that were supposed to be lived in a lot later. I mean, a lot sooner than when they were because we did damage. And I think that was the fun part. Like, we were like, you had this rebellious youth. Like, we had this, like, we used to go, and our only rule was, like, be home by streetlights or be home by the time it get dark. And so, since everybody knew like we weren't afraid of getting kidnapped. We weren't afraid of nothing because when there's like always 8 or 9 of us in one big crew, so if you saw us coming, you knew shit was about to get real. And we never really thought like, oh man, we're gonna think about this so much when we're older and reflect on these fun ass times. We probably don't until we all sit around and talk about it. Cause it's like that part of growing up in Pickerington, like growing up in Himes Road was cool, just cause like all of us still can like recognize each other. Like no matter, we can not talk to each other for years and see each other and still just have this cool relationship of where we were all cool because like you don't. That's when you're a kid. Like those are people like I've known these people for almost like 20 years. So like those memories don't fade, and I think that was part of it. Just growing up there was awesome. Like growing up part of Pickerington, and two like growing up part in Pickerington, like you see money because it was new money thrown into like this country place. So a lot of the people moving into different subdivisions clearly had money. Like nobody was really broke. I think being a black kid seeing that and coming from an environment where you're surrounded by broke people and this is probably true for any kid who went from an inner city setting to a suburban setting, but I think Pickerington is its own like I guess story in itself because it was like I said earlier, it was country. Like it's Fairfield County, it's country. Like it wasn't like Gahanna, it wasn't like Westerville where you have city things to do and convenient stores and crap like that, like and like city parks like recreation centers and stuff like no, we didn't have that. Like this Pickerington still doesn't have like its own recreation center or something. Like we have swim club, but in the Shevington pool, like that's about it. Like it's everything to do in Pickerington for the most part is between 204/Tucson and Refugee. Like that's Pickerington. Like that's pretty much it. Like between those roads, that's all there is to do in Pickerington. Unless you're going to a football game or like some sort of sporting event. If you want to hang out in Old Pickerington, be my fucking gas is full of none but old people. That's why I call it Old Pickerington. And just everything from there, like you see this new money just kind of show up. And you see all these things getting built. And as a black kid being around that and seeing it, like you kind of get instilled with this sense of work ethic, in a sense. Like you gotta be as good or better than in everything. Just because fucking you're from Pickerington, like you have standards to uphold. Like you can't just be a nobody in the sense of you can't be like dynamic. Like either you're really dynamic, really smart, or physically gifted, like sporting wise, or a combination. Like because there's so much competition to get noticed. Because like weird thing is like people don't believe like Pickerington has a lot of attractive people. Like I don't know what happened where everybody out east moved to Pickerington that had good looks. Like, so you're always being judged by that. And then we had good sports teams, so you're always being judged by that. Like for Pickerington, oh well, you guys like it's our girls basketball team for the most part. Like they ran everything. Like whether it was two schools or one school, like girls basketball ran everything. But still, with that, like you had this need to or this want to not be overlooked or overshadowed. So you kind of push yourself in situations where you know you can succeed. Like no one was really, even though we had slackers, like in a sense, like everyone had a sort of sense of a competitiveness. Like no one just existed fully. Just like nope, I'm content with not being noticed for anything. And that competition kind of breeds in a weird way excellence because no one wants to not be noticed, which I guess is why I am the way I am. Like fuck it, I want to be noticed. I mean that's just come from my family, but especially in Pickerington, like you don't want to be like just a nobody because you'll get overlooked and that shit sucks. But the main thing with Pickerington is just